Hi, tonight we're diving into a topic that's on a lot of our minds after this recent election. For myself and for many of you listening tonight, our candidate did not win. And it's especially hard when the winner seems to act in ways that contradict the things that we actually value, like equality, integrity, and respect for everyone. But here's the truth. Even though the result wasn't what we'd hoped, this isn't the end of our story. It's easy to feel disappointed or even a little lost, but remember, one election does not define our future. Democracy is a journey, and we're all still a part of that journey. We have the power to keep working toward a society that we believe in by showing up, supporting our communities, and making positive changes at every level. So let's take a deep breath, refocus, and remember that each of us can make a difference, even in challenging times, especially in challenging times. Stay engaged, stay hopeful, and let's keep moving forward together. Now, since the ACA is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, we can't endorse or disparage any candidate, or can we try to affect the outcome of any election? But that doesn't mean we're out of options. I'd love to hear from you. What can we do together to keep pushing forward for the values that we share? What actions, big or small, can help move us toward those goals? Call in, let us know how you're staying involved, and let's see what we can start accomplishing together, because the show is starting right now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nonprofits of Truth Wanted. That's so funny. Our backup host today is Cynthia McDonald, who I'm used to working with on Nonprofits, so it's just kind of taken over my brain, I guess. I am your host, though, Kelley Laughlin, and this is a live call-in show that happens every single Friday at 7 p.m. Central, where we talk to people about what they believe and why. And if you'd like to call us, we want to take your call. And you can get a hold of us at 1-512-991-9242 or through your computer at tiny.cc/calltw. As I mentioned, Truth Wanted is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And I've got a wonderful, amazing guest host with me today. Yeah, Ejector Seat, how you doing?
Hello. Didn't need to flatter me as much, but thank you so much.
No, I'm really to be here. No, I'm really happy to have you here. I think we're going to have a great show. Hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed. I think between the two of us, we should anyway.
We're having a blast before the show. Might as well continue it.
Yeah, I think we're doing all right. We had some good energy going. Before we do get started with the show, though, I want to give last week's results of the We Want the Truth, or the WWTT segment. And last week we asked, what trivial conspiracy theory do you think has merit? And here are our three favorite answers. Number 3 from Zach reads, a trivial conspiracy theory I think is true. Digital assistants are made kind of crappy on purpose so that they don't freak people out. Alexa, what are you hiding?
Very interesting.
It's part of like the uncanny valley, right? You don't want it to be too human-like.
Yeah. It's kind of weird how we keep Alexas and stuff in our house, though.
Yeah. I've seen where Jimmy Kimmel once got people's Alexas to order stuff because he said it on his show. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, Number 2, though, from Czech Gados says, a trivial but true conspiracy theory is Jesus failed in his carpentry business because some other god stole his hammer. Preaching was his second choice.
Yeah, I think that might be the reason behind the worship no other gods before me, but he's just really salty about the incident with Thor.
And I'm sorry, I'm totally just, my brain is still laughing at that one. And number one from Jason Techlord, a trivial conspiracy theory I think is true. Elton John was actually singing about Tony Danza, but changed it to Tiny Dancer because he was not yet ready to come out.
Oh, that's a sweet one.
Yeah, that's not so bad. And our prompt for this week is, what's your sarcastic answer to what are you thankful to God for? Do you have an answer for that one?
Oh, yeah, easy. People like Kent Hovind and the annoying twink Matt Powell, they've made more atheists than we could ever hope to.
Thankfully. And I wish more people would actually pay attention to the stuff that they're actually saying instead of using it to boost their own ideals. But if they actually just like logically look at some of the things they're saying, maybe we would get a lot more atheists, even more so, right?
Answers in Genesis even don't want to work with Kent Hovind, which if they won't stoop to your level, Jesus.
Yeah. I told you one of my friends tried to get a debate going with Ken Hovind, and he wouldn't debate him because my friend was a Christian. He'll only debate atheists about evolution.
Typical Hovind. Too scared to fight someone who'll fight back.
I just felt that was so interesting that he wouldn't debate a Christian about it. So I know I know you're into conspiracy theories, and it was something that we talked about was last week's question we had to do with conspiracy theories. But what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, it has to be the one I was talking about before the show. The one that the pyramids are secretly power stations for aliens.
They're not.
Well, we've never got shocked going into them, so I suppose not. Plus, there was a bunch of dead bodies inside. Maybe a tomb. Who knows?
How do you think something like that got started?
It would have to be someone like scrolling at maybe late at night. They see maybe a piece of material about electronics and go, kind of reminds me about the pyramids. I know.
I wonder what they were smoking that night.
I want some.
Yeah, I'm about to say I would like to find out where they're getting a hold of that stuff at. But I think one of my favorite conspiracies is one that I made up, I guess, because I've never heard anybody else say it. But I think the real conspiracies are the conspiracies. You know, in around the turn of the 20th century, not from the 19th to the 20th century, there was almost a corporate takeover of the United States, and Teddy Roosevelt and the Progressive Party kind of stopped it using the government and the tools of the government. And then just a few decades later, it almost happened again with the Wall Street plot, and Franklin and Teddy's cousin Franklin stopped it again with the government using the tools of the government. And then in 20, 30 years later, we get a bunch of conspiracy theories that are making people question and mistrust the government, so that they wouldn't use the very tool that they have to use against the corporate takeover of America.
Fun fact about Teddy Trustbuster Roosevelt, he broke up, his big win was breaking up Standard Oil, which broke up into a bunch of companies like Esso, big oil companies you see now, but they're all slowly starting to merge again. I think someone should probably get on that because, we were down this road 100 years ago.
Yeah, I think they got broken up into something like 200 different companies, and now they're back to 4 or 5. Yeah, I think insane. Somebody should be paying attention. I think you're absolutely right.
You want government officials to do their job?
People have to, and you get something like that, you can just see that happening, and people have to make up these crazy conspiracy theories. When you can actually see them happen, you need to make this up. It reminds me
of when people are mad at people like the Illuminati or shadow governments. Why get mad at a fake government? You have a real one.
Yeah. You have real people to get mad at. It doesn't make any sense to me. And on top, to take that even further, I mean, you could be doing something against these people because they're real, and you're all getting all caught up about people who are not real, and I don't know, doing nothing about unreal people, but you could actually be using that energy and going after the real problems, right?
Yeah. It will always boggle my mind.
And tell me about it. Did you? I think somebody you mentioned earlier before the show started might have called into us with an interesting call too. Something else we were talking about earlier.
Does the name begin with a T?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's him.
Yes, it does. I think that's we a mutual friend of ours actually. So
yeah.
Do you want to go to the call, or would you like to talk some more about conspiracy theories?
Oh well, this one should set us off with a bang. So why don't we get him up here then?
Let's go ahead and bring him on. Bring him on. Yeah, he's actually a good, fun person to talk to. So Tylo in Illinois, they wants to talk about giants in Afghanistan, the giants of Kandahar.
Yes. Oh, hey, you knew exactly where I was going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it before the show.
Believe it or not, coincidentally.
Coincidentally. Oh, that's a surprise. Well, so, yeah, I have it on good authority from several ex-military individuals that the stories about Kandahar are supposedly true. However, I question that. And I was wondering if we could suss out the truth here.
So
they're telling me that there's a 10-foot tall. They're telling me there's a 10-foot tall, red-haired man with a double row of teeth that spiked a soldier when we're pretty sure it was a boar and they were screwing around on patrol.
So if I may, we were talking about this beforehand. Usually when conspiracies pop up involving the military, it's usually, or not usually, but at least the big ones like UFO sightings are to hide things like confidential aircraft. There was one where a triangular aircraft was seen near New York flying through canyons, and it was triangular with lights on the wings and in the middle. Turns out that was probably an F-117 Nighthawk or a B-2 Spirit bomber. With this, I think you're right. I think it's either... So I read a bit in the report before this. I believe they were setting up an OP because they had a Barrett 50 cal, which is a big, heavy rifle.
Yes.
And they said they couldn't kill the thing.
Yes.
So either they were, high out their minds, which, given the area and the fact it was 2002, is a possibility. However, I think what's probably happened is that they've had an embarrassing incident, probably with a local animal, or they were out doing something they shouldn't do, and someone started spinning a tail, and they went, "Oh, well, we can't exactly take this back now. Let's go full force. Let's just really lean into it." Plus, if there was a 10-foot tall giant, we were there for 20 years, someone would have shot one.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that I would normally throw it away as a, hey, this isn't here. This isn't a real thing. You probably ran into a boar. What were you doing messing around with a boar? You were supposed to be on patrol. Like, there were a couple of things that didn't add up in that first instance, but then there were several other instances where they were seen interacting with locals in that area. And I went,
where giants
really?
were seen interacting with locals.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Sorry.
Yes. This would be one of those things where I went, I'm questioning this. I'm questioning a lot of this. So I'm still trying to dig up the footage that supposedly exists, but I have.
Yeah, I know about. I've read about the 2002 incident that supposedly happened with the U.S. military patrol. I don't know of any other incidents besides that one. At least I'm not aware of any. So if you do have any reports of other incidents, I'd be happy if you emailed them to me or send me a DM, Tylo. You know how to get a hold of me. So
Yeah, I know exactly how to get a hold of you. I will go find those things real quick for you. So
cool. You don't have to do it real quick, but you know.
Yeah, it's a podcast that I found, and the second incident was a British sniper.
Cool.
So,
if I may, the footage you were talking about, the footage you were talking about, is it like shot from above? With the footage you were talking about, is it shot from above, like an ISR drone?
Yes.
Okay. Because
yeah, it was.
Without saying too much, I do know someone that can.
It wasn't from above.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it was a helmet cam, then Jesus. I can.
Yeah, helmet cams are useless, especially at that distance.
Yeah, if there was a British sniper involved, we have, I think, like 300 snipers in the army, unless it's Royal Marines, in which there's even less. If we narrow down a time and date, I might even be able to tell you who it was after the show. But I would love to see that footage.
I will get back to you on that. I have to go peruse certain places and get those videos for you.
It'd be awesome.
Please do.
That would be awesome. I'd love to see him myself. That'd be great.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to call in and let you guys know that I don't think any of this is real, but I see how somebody else would see this as real.
I was going to ask you if you knew of any other reports of giants recently.
There was one supposedly of a corpse in Utah, and an Apache killed it, but then you think about that a little harder and you're like, wait a second, that's not where those two things are.
A helicopter?
No, Native American.
Okay. Sorry, because I was going to say, if it was the helicopter, there's footage of that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually had somebody in my shop like a couple of weeks ago that insisted that giants were real. And they thought that that the effigy mounds that had been found in southern Wisconsin were all had giants buried in them, which I found really interesting.
That's a fun interaction. I'd love to hear more about that. I do have to go though, so I just wanted to pop in and say hi to you both, and good luck with the rest of the show.
Thanks, Tylo. Appreciate it. It was good hearing from you.
Yeah.
And let's. I was gonna just drop it, and it seems like it dropped by himself. So. So there you go. There's our giant of Kandahar. Coincidentally, that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm very curious though. If we can get a time or date, because if we can, I can go through some old records to see like deployment dates.
Mm-hmm.
And sharpshooters are listed in the military, or like in the British Army. So I might even be able to, if they're still in country, I might be able to reach out and like talk to them and ask them about it. Which, if I do, I'm definitely mentioning it if I ever come back on here again.
Well, I'm sure if Tyler can get the information, he'll get back to us on it, so we can try to do a follow up on that. I'd be interested in that too, myself, actually. I'd like to just to follow up on the whole story. Like I said, I have read the story. Of course, the military denies that it happened. I don't know if any of our viewers are familiar with it, but supposedly a U.S. military patrol came upon a 12 to 15 foot tall red-headed giant that had 6 fingers and 2 rows of teeth. And he came out of a cave and attacked the soldiers and apparently impaled one of them and killed them with a giant spear. So,
yeah, from the story I read, they were going to set up an OP, and there was only 5 people, 4 with carbines and 1 with a big anti-material rifle, which can take down like light armored vehicles. So it's possible that if that story if that story was real, we might have a body to go along with the story.
You would think, but there is no body. There's nothing. But then again, if the military was trying to cover it up, there wouldn't be a body for us to examine, would there be? So
Yeah, maybe.
supposedly the creature's body was airlifted back to the squad space by a helicopter. So maybe it's in a big wooden case right next to the Ark of the Covenant inside that giant warehouse somewhere.
Maybe. Although if you want a story to get out, you should tell it to the military because everything leaks from there. I wouldn't trust them to hold a glass of water. Like national military secret.
Well, if you were in that warehouse, you had a free pass, what would you go in there and look for?
Oh, something like a lightsaber, definitely.
You think there's a lightsaber in there?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's the best franchise anyway.
I don't know. I think I'd probably go in there and look for the Ark of the Covenant. Why not?
And have your face melted off?
No, I'm the good guy. It wouldn't do it to me.
Wait, well, if it's controlled by God, then aren't we kind of the bad guys in God's story?
Yeah, well, I think it's all about your works, right?
Oh, true.
So, and I could just before we open it up, I could say I believe in God. So he would, I could fool him. Pascal's wager, right? Apparently you can fool God with,
Yeah, all-knowing, all-powerful can be fucked over by a mind trick.
Yeah, and by an iron chariot. Which I always thought was funny. Why an iron chariot, of all things?
It's probably like a lot of stories in Judaism were lifted from other stories of cultures before that. So it's possible that the iron was originally not meant to keep out a god, but rather some other being, like a vampire or revenant, I guess it would be back then.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that's a possibility. I mean, I always like to try to put myself in that mindset, and it's really difficult for somebody in our situation, in our modern thinking. Like, I'm really fascinated by the Templar culture in southern Turkey, southeastern Turkey. Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, you may have heard of those, Bamkulu Tepe. And it's really hard to put yourself into that mindset, but I would love to. My son always jokes that I actually helped design Karahan Tepe, then I'm that old. So,
oh, if we could only be so lucky.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to be able to put myself in their place though, and be able to think like about what they were doing there and why they chose that place to build the way they built. So,
don't we usually have a patron?
We do. We have actually several announcements that we probably should do. We have we have the patron of the week. Let's do that first. Let's do our patron of the week. And then this week's patron is, drumroll please, the amazing, wonderful Hugh. Hugh. Thanks, Hugh. And thanks to all of our other patrons who help support this show. All the money that goes into the Patreon, it does support the show. None of us get paid for doing this. We're all volunteers, and we really appreciate you helping keep the show going and making it even better. And in fact, we love it so much that we are actually doing now our phase 2 of our brick fundraiser. Phase 1 went really well. We've got some really nice bricks, some pretty funny ones too. But we do want to highlight some of the bricks, some of the standout ones. This week's featured brick goes out to Adrian in Arizona, and it says dedicated to Forrest Falkai, just another Judas. Thank you for your purchase, Adrian. And you can get your brick at tiny.cc/ACA bricks. So become part of the Free Thought Library forever. That is pretty good. Just another Judas.
As well.
Yeah. And before I forget, because I have forgotten in the past, and I feel really bad about this, but I think that we should bring up the crew cam and look at the amazing, wonderful crew that helps put this show. That's the whole crew right there. The whole crew. That's amazing. I know there's more people than that back there. So it's we have Shy Crew tonight. There's a lot of people actually that help put this show together and do an amazing job of it. And those are really the people that are the real heroes of this show. So okay. Well, I have another note here. What's it say here? Nope, that was it. That was everything I had gone there. Oh, I did want to say that if you were like looking for your board, right? You're just hanging out, don't know what to do with yourself, and you're looking for something that's entertaining, you can maybe a little bit interactive, a little controversial. You can go to the AXP 24/7 live chat or live stream and chat room and just hang out with a bunch of people and listen to 28 years of clips from AXP, listen to a bunch of old hosts, maybe some you never met before. It's a lot of fun. There's a great community that hangs out there in the chat. They even helped me pick out my tie today. Actually, the chat room actually helps me pick out my tie many a morning. So if you're not doing anything, go over there and check it out.
I've spent many, many hours there. It's very good.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun over there myself. I love going over there and hanging out. There's a really good crew hanging out over there. So let's we have another call coming through. And let's see, we got conspiracy. You wanted a conspiracy theory. Here we go. Snot Vampire, him from Texas. Conspiracy theories and vaccine trouble coming soon. Hello, Snot Vampire. How are you?
Hey. Well, and yourself, Kelley?
I'm doing okay. What vaccine trouble do you see coming soon?
Oh, where do I start? Well, my question is, do we have to, if the crazy man gets put in charge of health, does that mean we have to stop giving our dogs rabies vaccines as well? Because that seems to work pretty well.
I'm kind of worried about crazy people getting put in charge of our national health. That does seem like it might be a very big problem in this country in the near future. I'm worried that maybe the people who are supposed to be taking care of our health might have had that part of their brain eaten by a worm.
The worm died because it didn't have enough brain material to live on, I think.
That's what I heard.
Now, this is the guy that tied a chainsaw to whale's. This is the guy that chainsawed a whale's head off, tied it to his car. The same guy that dumped a dead bear in Central Park, and he's going to be in charge of health. Health? Hello?
Yeah,
I think it could only be worse if you put him in charge of the environment.
Well, that's probably
I'm sure we've got somebody worse for that.
I was thinking back to Dr. Strangelove when General Jack Ripper said, "Mandrake, do you know when water fluoridation started?" No, Jack, I don't. 1946, Mandrake. Right after the, he makes it a Soviet threat. That's when they started fluoridating the water. It's obvious, isn't it? Everything we thought was a joke is now real.
I love the fluorine conspiracies and that it's there to poison you. Like, I've never understood that. We don't, in the UK, we don't have fluorinated water, at least in Scotland. We kind of pride ourselves in the fact our drinking water is the best in the UK. But I've never understood that. Like, why? I wonder where the conspiracy for things like the government is out to get you, specifically you, comes from. It'd be very interesting to do a deep dive into it.
I I'm not sure about the origin of. I'm not 100% sure about the origin of this one. I have been told, and I've seen it traced back to large shipments of fluoride being brought into concentration camps during World War II. The idea being that a large amount of fluoride would make you complacent, so it would be easier to control people. Now, I don't know if that's actually true of fluoride. I don't think it is, honestly.
That's generally what the guns and wire fences are for.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, yeah, and I don't know that there was any proof that that's what they were using the fluoride for to begin with. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe they were using it to polish the barbed wire. I have no idea, honestly, and I don't think anybody really does. But it's just one of those incredible leaps of logic to head to a conclusion that I want to prove. I think is what was going on there, right?
I have a partial answer for what EJ was talking. What EJ was talking about. In the 50s, there was a ultra-right conspiracy-oriented organization called the John Birch Society.
Oh, yeah.
They did a lot to promote the fluoride conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. Brother John Birch.
That's my information.
Why is it always groups who are deciding?
I was going to say on conspiracy theories in general, I'm asked occasionally, well, what does it matter if people believe that other people are being abducted by aliens or that the Earth is flat or this and that? And it does matter a great deal, I think, because once you've gone into that realm and you're willing to accept anything you see on Coast to Coast or the Gaia channel, then you've kind of abandoned critical thinking. You're open to any and all weird stuff just because somebody, possibly with a degree, possibly without, tells it, says it. I think it was Terry Pratchett that said, "It's good to keep an open mind, but but if you keep it too open, somebody will come along and put something stupid in it."
Yeah.
And I think that's.
I've heard similar quotes of. Yeah, I've heard similar quotes of it's good to have an open mind, but if your mind's too open, your brain will fall out. I have noticed that, and what you were saying with conspiracies, how they can start to lead you down a path of losing your critical thinking. I've noticed that, especially when it comes to conspiracies around like Göbekli Tepe or the pyramids, and how they were not built by people or they were built to stop a natural disaster. You often find that that's the first step to going down a rabbit hole that often leads to not very human-friendly conspiracies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Because if the aliens built the pyramids, possibly using dinosaurs as a labor, then why doesn't it make just as much sense that Venus broke out of, this is the Velikovsky theory, that Venus broke out of Jupiter, passed by the Earth, boiled all the oceans, and went into orbit around the sun. If you believe one crazy thing, why not believe another?
You forgot that it knocked Mars out of its orbit. Because Mars used to be where Venus is now, right? According to Velikovsky.
You got me there because I've never read the damn book, nor will I.
Yeah.
Yes, you got
Mars was where Venus now, so Venus broke off of Jupiter, came flying through. That caused all these problems on Earth, knocked Mars out of its orbit, which came flying back by Earth, caused more problems, and then eventually settled into its orbit that it's in now. Which is why Mars is smaller than the Earth, when it should be larger.
It's because there's a multi-100-year-long conspiracy among every scientist in the world. That they're all in league to deceive us. They're all working for the Illuminati, Vatican, Mason, aliens. They're all working for those secretive groups to deceive us. Well, let me tell you something. Scientists are as eager to gain claim and be famous as anybody else. It would only take one scientist to go, "Hey, wait, they've been lying to you. I have the truth." That guy would get a Nobel Prize. Scientists are just like all of us. They want to be famous.
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying there also applies to on the last caller. We were talking about a conspiracy involving the military. Same is true with them. Like whenever someone mentions the flat Earth and how there is like military snipers positioned around the Earth ready to take you out, like someone would have mentioned that on a talk show by now. Like you'd be surprised what a beer and a cigarette buys you with soldiers.
Yeah, I can't even get 10 people to keep a surprise birthday party a secret. I don't know how you're going to keep hundreds of scientists, not scientists with big egos that need to be stroked.
Not even the mafia could keep a secret. They had rats.
Yeah.
You know, if the mafia can't keep a secret, who can? You know? So the one that kills me is the giant skeletons. And so many of those photos have been debunked so thoroughly. But yet you still see videos on the skeletons that the Smithsonian dumped into the ocean. And you got that where? From another YouTube video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First of all, human beings above a certain size cannot physiologically exist. The heart can't pump that much blood. Those bones can't support that weight. It runs afoul of everything we know about science, but yet people are like, well, fuck science. That doesn't mean anything. What are you talking about? Anyway.
God doesn't need science.
You probably have. Oh, well, yes. And, I go with what Neil deGrasse Tyson said. Let's make America smart again.
Amen to that.
Good luck.
Yeah, totally amen to that. I think that might have been one of our problems, honestly. I was just talking to a friend this morning about it. Is I actually seen supporters from one of our candidates saying that the Harris's main problem was that she treated the voters like they were idiots. And I was thinking, I think she might have done just the opposite. She was giving people too much credit. And I think she was I think she was appealing to a higher intellectual capacity people than were actually hearing the message. So,
who was it that said no one ever went broke, underestimating the taste of the American public?
P.T. Barnum said.
Let me tell you a quick anecdote. This is just a story. Haven't vetted it. Couldn't be vetted. A woman said her husband works at a small manufacturing plant in Pennsylvania, and they had a company meeting the next day, and most of the employees are Trump supporters. And he said, I'm sorry, but there won't be any Christmas bonuses this year because we have to buy as much material that we import as quickly as we can to avoid the tariffs. And the people were nonplussed. They were like, well, tariffs, we don't pay the tariffs. Yes, you idiots, you do pay the tariffs. It just makes me mad. Well, gentlemen, I'll let you go. Have a great rest of your show. And
well, thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, keep up the good work, and I'll call again soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. We've got a couple of super chats I see, too, that maybe we might want to get to.
Sure. I saw a few of them were quite interesting.
Yeah. Let me get down here. We got one from Drew Harrison, member 2 months. And it says, it's my 50th birthday. Thanks for all you do live this show. I probably love this show. I don't know who wrote that. Probably, I know probably who messed that one up. So I'm going to yell at him after the show. But happy birthday, Drew. That's awesome. 50 years, man. You can't beat that. That's a long time.
Happy birthday, man. Can't wait till I'm not near any milestones yet, but that is impressive. Well done. 50
years is pretty damn impressive, yeah. And we have another one from Miranda Rensberger, our habitual super chatter member for 6 months. She sends us $5 and says, if the rapture comes and I don't feel like going, I'll just sit in my car. It's basically an iron chariot, so God can suck my out of it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I wonder if a car would count as the iron chariot in that case.
Yeah,
like God thwarted by a Hyundai.
That's a really good question. That is a really good question.
God versus a Ford Focus, who wins?
And we got $10 from our great backup host, Cynthia McDonald, who says EJ has the best accent, but almost got canceled with the Star Wars reference. We are Star Trek people here at the ACA.
I made that reference knowing it. I was smiling, giggling at myself.
And from Jason Friedman, the amazing Jason, 1999. Whoa, go Jason. How do y'all feel about increasing gun ownership among the LGBTQ community? When is violent public outrage justified, if ever? Should people fight fire with fire? No, you fight fire with water. Come on.
Yeah.
When they feel all options have been exhausted.
So I do have something interesting to say about this.
Yeah, please do.
I'm not from the US, but I do competition shooting. I grew up around firearms, I grew up around veterans, so it's always been a secondhand thing to me to have a firearm near me. Now, the access is not as extensive as it is in the US, and there is a problem with firearms over there. But I do think, especially for minority communities, it is important to be trained and keep safe, for example, firearms, but also any means to self-defense, because especially in the current climate, it might not be entirely safe to be you openly, and you might unfortunately suffer an attack. I see it in my line of work too often, and it's something we need to remember. However, we should also exhaust other possibilities like public security and also non-lethal options before you go to a firearm.
Good call. I've been around guns most of my life. I was an avid hunter. I know a lot of people would object to that, but I did like to hunt. I think that everybody who eats meat should have to kill and clean an animal at least once in their life, even if it's just a fish, just so you understand the process behind it. So yeah. So I've been around guns my whole life too, and I have no problem with a rising gun ownership in the LGBTQ community or any other community that's marginalized and does not feel safe. So I don't know that fighting fire with fire is smart. Like I said, you fight fire with water. So, but I understand the need for defense. So I'm not going to deny that that's a legitimate response to the fear of being who you are in today's society, especially with the way the way the elections have turned, and some of the people who are getting into power that we might not feel so safe with. And with some of us are part of a marginalized community, so.
Much love from over here in Europe. I do feel bad for all of you.
I wish we had a better solution to what's going on. So I don't know. It's just what are we gonna? What can you do?
Also, what you were saying earlier about how anyone who eats meat should have to rip an animal. Yeah, like bagging a deer really teaches you like a lot of respect for the food you eat. Mm-hmm. Also makes you a lot more hungry than you'd think, especially if you're tracking it.
I really honestly believe that, and I'm not like a militant carnivore. I'm actually mostly vegetarian nowadays. Not vegan, vegetarian. But I really do believe that, just because, like I said, I think everybody should know what really goes into making a meal out of an animal. And I don't have a problem doing it. I've done it a million times. I've butchered deer. I don't have a problem doing it. But I know that a lot of people would probably get turned off by it. And we might find out that there's a lot of vegetarians and vegans out there, and they just don't know it yet. So.
Donning, I've seen people who I've gone on hunting groups with have to don the large shoulder-high gloves, and that's when they back out. Yeah, I think a lot of people would go vegetarian if that was the case.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do. And that's cool. Like I said, I'm not like a militant carnivore. I think everybody should be able to choose what they'd like to do.
Your diet, your choice.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a few screenshots we can get to.
Ooh.
So let's do that, I guess. We'll take number one, the first one, number one. And it says the reality is that while there is much evidence to support the Earth being very old, there is also much evidence to support it being young. The problem is people like this gentleman here, thank you for calling me a gentleman, they don't talk about all the evidence. They all talk about the evidence that supports their worldview. And this was about me talking about why some people believe the Earth is only 6,000 to 10,000 years old. I don't talk about all the evidence because I'm not interested in all the evidence. I'm only interested in the evidence that actually proves facts. Yeah. So when you bring up evidence that's not proving anything, then I can just discount that as part of the evidentiary process, right? I'm going to look at all the evidence. I'm going to toss out that which isn't helping prove anything in the argument, whether it's my argument or yours. So, yeah.
Especially with young Earth creationism, I used to go down that rabbit hole when I was younger. A lot of young Earth creationists should hopefully realize that if we seem to ignore evidence that you have or dismiss it out of hand, it's because it's not as seemingly blindingly obvious to us what you see. So if you've watched the Hovens or other famous young Earth creationists like the Creation Institute, you may think that the evidence is all there and blindingly obvious, but as people who don't believe it, we're not going to immediately see it. The same way you don't immediately see how we view the world, how we see all the evidence around us and go, oh, well, this is so obvious. I think part of that can also lead to a bit of hostility sometimes. I hope it's never intentional, at least not here anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, good addition to what I said. Appreciate that. We are screening another call right now, but while we're doing that, let's take one more of these. Let's go to number 2.
I'll try to be brief.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It says, the 4 Gospels are the recordings of what Jesus did through his life. The account of the 12 apostles closest to him wrote about his miracles, not to mention the hundreds upon hundreds of writings from all the other people who witnessed some of his miracles. I'm wondering what those are. And this is because I said there was no evidence outside the Bible that Jesus performed miracles. And I think it's interesting that, yeah, I did say that outside the Bible. And so what do you bring up? The 4 Gospels. That's not outside the Bible. I hate to tell you, but that's
the only source I could think of off the top of my head would be the Quran. But that doesn't. If you want to start taking sources from the Quran saying that Jesus did miracles, you might want to read the full thing and see how it says that he isn't God.
I'm like really surprised that there's hundreds upon hundreds of writings of all these people who witnessed these miracles, and yet I don't know of a single one of them. Maybe maybe you can email me, whoever wrote this comment, and fill me in, give me a link to some of these hundreds and hundreds of writings.
Drop in the comments. I'll see it afterwards.
Pardon?
I was just saying maybe they could put it in the comments of the video afterwards.
Yeah.
If they see this, like I'll be searching that for these writings because I'm curious to see them myself.
Or you can email me at tv@atheist-community.org. Just put my name in the subject line and it'll get to me. Because I am really curious, and I will share them with you, EJ.
Oh, please do.
If I get a list of hundreds of them, I would be more than happy to share them with you.
Even make it a little event of a bunch of us going through them, seeing what we can say about them.
Well, I'm really bummed out because we had a really good call coming through, I thought, and it dropped. So I know.
What was it about?
A theist, and they seem to be like militantly wanting us to disprove their theism. But yeah, I guess they didn't. I guess they.
I hope we didn't do it by mistake while we were talking about those two.
Yeah. It might have been the person that was complaining about about the Gospels. Excuse me.
Maybe they might have dropped to go and send you an email. Hopefully that's what happened.
Yeah, you might be sending me an email right now.
You'll know if in 20 minutes you look at your you look at your screen and go, "Oh, new email. Oh, that's where it is."
Well, hopefully he'll call back. And in the meantime, let's do another one. I love these things. Another screenshot. How about we do number 3? This one looks fun to me. LOL, he has to put his pronouns after his name. Tells me he's not even sure what or who he is. I am really sure who and what I am. I've probably been around quite a bit longer than you are. I'm just guessing at that. But I'm real confident about who or what I am, and putting my pronouns there for other people to use and for other people's benefit doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. I don't know why you would get so bent up over pronouns. We've been using pronouns forever. You use pronouns all the time. You use several pronouns in your comment. I really don't get why theists are so upset about pronouns. It doesn't look good on you guys. You should probably kind of drop that stuff.
Yeah, it's always confusing, especially when it's stuff like that. Like, they have to know on some level, if not consciously, then subconsciously, that it is not for us. I know who I am. I know many more things about me than you do, and I always will. That's kind of the nature of being a person. But whenever there's a name and pronouns there, it's so you know. Like, you can come in here, if this person wanted to call in and they wanted to start using the wrong pronouns, okay, it makes you look like not going to say the word, but it starts with "see you next Tuesday." But it's there to help people who don't necessarily know. Because, okay, you look at me and Kelley, we both have long hair, facial hair. If you were to assume that we were guys, you'd be correct. That's not always true. I know people who look like me, they don't have the same pronouns, and they will get quite annoyed if you assume that they do. So it's there to stop misunderstandings from happening on genuinely good faith calls. But if you don't want to have good faith when you're calling into a show like this or leaving a comment, you're just giving the ACA free interaction.
Yeah, I just don't get. I really, honestly do not get why people get so upset over pronouns. It just goes right over my head. I honestly do not get it, and I think it's just because I think it's just part of the outrage machine. Oh, I'm supposed to be upset about this, so I'm going to be upset about it. They don't even know why they're upset, So yeah, like I said,
it's just incompetence.
Yeah, totally.
Have we got another one?
Do you want to do another one?
I mean, do you see any call screening?
No, we have nothing. We have call lines open. So if anybody would like to be on the show, give me a call right now. We'll just pop you straight through. Yeah. And the next one, number 4, says you should always discount anything a Christian says. Everything they say is a lie. And I'm going to disagree with that. I know a lot of very nice Christians who say a lot of really nice things that aren't lies. So I know there's a tendency to discount things, especially when you're deconverting or, kind of like shedding off the trauma that you may have experienced as a theist, that you were like had all this kind of crap thrust on you, that now you're realizing that you were lied to, you may have been taken advantage of, and you're angry. And I get that, but that's not, you can't paint all theists with the broad brush and say they're all bad. A lot of people who are Christians for good reasons. They might not agree with everything that their church does. Most Christians hardly do agree with what their churches do, but they're not bad people. So I don't like to say that all Christians are bad and that you can't trust anything a Christian says. What do you think, EJ?
I'm with you on that. Like, just because there are people out there who lie, swindle, cheat, like mega church preachers, or people again like the Hovens, it doesn't mean that all Christians are bad. And like I was saying earlier about how we might see things differently, like evidentiary wise, that's true with the worldview too. We might disagree with theists as a whole, but we should still preach the same love that they're supposed to. They talk about how you should love your neighbor and how you should be, how you should welcome people with open arms and treat them as your own kin. If they don't do that, we should. We should do it anyway. And no matter if you disagree with them on religion or you disagree with some of their views, you should still have open arms as much as you can, because no matter how much you disagree, you're still one big family, I suppose, as cheesy as that is to say. We're all genus homo.
My son would have made a joke when he heard you say that.
I nearly did. I was that close.
I was talking about I'm fascinated by the history of early man, and I was talking to my son recently about some finds in Java, some Homo erectus skulls, and so I said Homo erectus, and he started giggling, and I was like, man, it's just like talking to a third grader. It's talking to you.
Oh, don't worry. When I was doing biology in college, when we started talking about early man, our professor said Homo erectus, and he let a giggle break happen. He said, right, get over it. That name's going to come up a lot more. So don't worry. It happens to everyone when they find out about Homo erectus.
We got a couple of callers. We got another caller called in and started to go through the screening process and decided to hang up and not talk to us. So I don't know if I'm scaring them away while they're doing the screening, if they're hearing me say stuff and I'm scaring them away. I hope not. I'm not that scary. If you met me, you would totally not be scared by me. I'm like 5'5" and weigh 120 pounds soaking wet. So I think that's I think it's about 60 kilos in your funny weight. I'm right around 60 kilos.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah. So I'm really not scary.
You don't need to be big and tall to be intimidating. I work in security. I've been put in my ass plenty of times by people who are so much smaller than me. It will never not take me by surprise.
I could my voice could be a lot bigger than my body, I could tell you what. But we've gone through a lot of the screenshots. We talked to quite a few people tonight. We're getting close to showtime, the ending of showtime. I think maybe we'll, since we're not getting any calls anymore, we're not getting any calls coming through. We've gone through all of our screenshots, so maybe we'll just end the show a few minutes early. But before we do end the show early, I want to bring up the amazing and wonderful Cynthia McDonald, who filled in as our backup host today. Can we bring Cynthia up? Hi, Cynthia. How you doing?
Hi, Kelley.
I'm always. I hear happy voices over there. I'm always so happy to work with you, Cynthia.
I'm happy to work with you too, Kelley.
I know. I always have fun. I always have fun doing nonprofits with you. It's like we always. I think I laugh more with you than everybody else combined. So
that's because I have no sense.
No, you have a good sense of humor.
We'll go with that. But I was about to say but I really don't have any sense, and I'm never serious.
I'm not going to say you have no sense because I like it too much and I want to keep being on nonprofit. So,
Listen, I will never get on you too much for telling the truth, especially since truth is wanted. Truth is wanted right now. Is basically what I'm saying to you right now.
Hello.
EJ's back.
Apologies.
well, I'd like to remind everybody of our prompt for next week. It's what's your sarcastic answer to what are you thankful to God for? I'm thankful for those quiet minutes in the morning when I can get away from everybody.
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer.
That is a good answer, Kelley.
That's what that's. You know what? We just got a call. Should we go ahead and take it?
Yeah.
All right. We got Dave, him from California. People are already emboldened towards bigotedly motivated acts.
Oh.
So, hi, Dave. How are you?
Great. Could have been better. It's trying. Also, want to say, how's your mango? So had to throw that. Yeah. So you know which Dave this is now.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no. Over the last few days, I have already been experiencing some pretty messed up stuff. Me being the somewhat already of a neighborhood pariah, having a trans child, and being vehemently opposed to a lot of what's going on. Right when it happened, right after the election, they've been emboldened to be harassing me outside my house at various hours, day and night, getting jeers, getting called the F word. Some people were shooting off fireworks the other night. It's already started. Somebody actually, they didn't cross into my backyard, but they were like waving their hands over my fence and screaming at me while all I was just doing there was sitting in the backyard listening to y'all. Not this show, but another show.
Yeah.
When it was happening, and so it's happening. They are being emboldened. You said you were afraid that was going to happen. It is happening.
Do you feel like you're still safe, or do you feel like there's any way that you could make yourself safe?
I do not feel threatened, especially not in as much where I need to leave and or do anything. But I will just say, without crossing any lines over the air, that I have measures to protect myself.
Yeah, we did talk about that in the super chat earlier. The importance of trained protection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm a military veteran. My training is pretty decent.
I am worried about people. I really am. I really am worried that we're going to see more and more problems as time goes on along these lines, especially as because people are becoming more emboldened. All we need is 5-6 of these incidents to be spread across the media for even more people to become emboldened, and that's what I'm afraid of, that we're going to see like a large movement of bigotry.
My fear in this is that there will be no significant consequences for those who do it. I did have the cops involved, and their only advice was file a civil harassment suit. I've already lost one civil harassment suit against these people in the past. I can't afford to lose a second one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried.
The rock and hard place I'm finding myself in is that any protective measures that I do take are entirely in my own hands. I don't have anybody on the outside looking to help or acting to help.
EJ, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I do think, unfortunately, like you were saying, it's going to, at least for a while, there might be no serious repercussions for people who do take bigoted actions like this. However, hopefully we will see perhaps a Supreme Court case or some sort of landslide action that allows courts, or not allows, but forces them and law enforcement officers who take events like this seriously. Because when people feel comfortable enough harassing you and nothing happens to them, they might grow bolder, and that's something that not a lot of people can risk. You are a bit lucky in that you have.
That's what we thought was gonna. Sorry.
I was just saying you're luckier in that you have the training.
With Eric Donner, Breonna Taylor, all of that.
Yeah, it's.
We
I'm
thought
so
those
sorry
were
you
those
have to go through
landslide
this.
places that would make a difference.
And
I'm so sorry they weren't.
we just have to keep plugging forward and not let it get us down. I don't know what else to say. I feel for you. I think everybody knows I'm in a really small town. We've got a little rainbow flag up in the front window of our store, and I put progressive candidates campaign signs out in my front yard, and I've been worried about something happening to me here. I don't know what happened this election cycle, but last 4 years ago, 78% of my county voted for Trump. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be the same or even more this time around. But when you're such a small group in an area that has so many militantly bigoted people, it's a bit scary. It can be a bit scary.
And I don't see it getting better before it gets worse.
I don't either at this point. I really don't. I've said for years now that we've been in a cold civil war, and I still believe that. And I was worried that it was going to break out no matter which way we went. Like I said, it's either going to embolden people or it was going to make people think they were backed into a corner, so they had to do something. And I think the emboldening thing might be even worse than the backed into the corner thing. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, I guess, over the next couple of years. I have a feeling 2 years from now, there's going to be a lot of people with buyer's remorse, though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That is my silver lining. I do feel like, like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better, but he's going to have slow traction making change in the first 2 years. And if it gets bad enough, then people are going to look at that in the midterms, and it can result in a reformat of the House and Senate together. That would be a fucking silver lining as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would consider that a silver lining, sure.
Hopefully,
that's about the only optimism I have for the future. Is the next 2 years are going to tell us everything.
Hopefully we don't see anything too bad happening to marginalized communities, because the way things have been going, it does have even people over here in Europe a bit worried. However, in your situation, I'm fully confident that you guys will remain safe. But I'm keeping a thought out and trying to actively help people who are in worse situations. And it can be a bit worrying, but as Kelley was saying, we should keep hope, because even if this is the worst 4 years that we've had in a long time, it's still 4 years. We can get through this. Like, if we stick together as a community, we can get through this, and we will.
Fingers crossed when they're still able to vote in 4 years, right?
When they start running out of people to come after, are they going to come after you? And if not, why? They should be, right?
Yeah. First they came for the trans kids, and I did something because I've read the rest of the fucking poem.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at right here. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate. And
you called me a gentleman.
Please keep reading those screenshots of you, Kelley. Yeah, that was a callback. I love you, man. Take care, Kelley, and
Yeah.
hopefully you get some more interesting calls than me.
Well, we're at the end of the show, so but I appreciate you calling in. I really do.
All right, well,
Thanks
then I guess I'll see you in the after show.
Yeah,
Oh,
you'll
yeah,
see us.
there,
Yeah,
man.
you will see me in the after show.
right.
So with that, it is time to wrap this show up. So that was a great call. We got to fill in the last 5-10 minutes there with that. And I'm going to, again, thank Cynthia for being here with us and filling in as the backup host. But she filled in my seat, so for which I'm usually hanging out in, and I appreciate that. I like being the backup host. I liked hanging out with Cynthia for an hour before the show, so
That was fun.
That was always fun.
I always love being. Yeah, that's the best thing about being the backup
in a
host. You
few
get to
minutes.
hang out with these really cool people.
Yeah. Is it possible that I can just say just one thing really quick to all the
Sure.
people who are feeling a little bit despondent? You know, I just want to say that, guys, just remember, we've been here before, okay? This is not our first go round, and this is not also the first time that our democracy has been threatened. So we came through it before, and if we stay tight together and keep a wall of solidarity together, especially for the marginalized groups, for our LGBTQIA plus friends, for our Black and Brown friends, for our people of color friends, for our women friends, for all the people who may be feeling unseen right now. I just want to let you know we see you and we're here for you.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you, Cynthia. And again, we are going to head over to Discord for an after show. We hope you see us there. Don't forget, our prompt for next week is, what's your sarcastic answer to what are you thankful to God for? So comment on the video below. Don't do it in the chat, but on it below, and we may read yours out next week. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks for coming. And always remember, keep wanting the truth.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.